They unearthed a shocking truth about regret in the Bible that never ceases to haunt. Few knew what truly happened that night, the night when shadows danced in darkness and whispers of betrayal echoed through the air. The events unfurled like a tapestry of horror. It was a time when a simple decision could plunge a man into eternal regret. Imagine the tension crackling in the corner of the room, flickering candlelight casting eerie shapes upon the faces of those assembled. In the heart of Jerusalem, a city thick with history and fervor, stood a man named Judas. Greed clawed at him, tearing at his insides. He felt the weight of silver coins pressed into his palm, each one a promise, a trap tightening around his heart. His eyes darted nervously, glancing at the tapestry of the Last Supper as if it could unravel the truth hidden beneath the strain of his choices. Betrayal hung in the air, thick and suffocating, daring him to make his next move. As he walked toward the darkness, a cold sweat trickled down his spine. Was it truly too late to turn back? Questions spiraled in his mind, each one heavier than the last. The high priests had promised him power that twisted into chains around his soul. A flood of figures moved about him, unsure whispers swirling like autumn leaves. What would they say? Echoed in his thoughts, drowning out the truth of his actions. Would he be remembered as a traitor, or would he find redemption hidden within the very act of betrayal? Moments passed, each one filled with increasing dread. The moon hung high, casting a pale glow over the garden where Jesus awaited, serene yet unaware of the tempest brewing just outside. Judas's heart raced with each step that took him closer to his destiny. Would he find forgiveness or forever be haunted by shadowy regrets? He paused. Just a heartbeat. The night air was electric, anticipation crackling like thunder as he weighed his choices against the gravity of the moment. Minutes felt like hours as the world around him faded. Would he betray the one he loved the most? The thought twisted in his chest, turning the silence into a cacophony of torment. What awaited him at the end of this dark path? Redemption or despair? As he turned to face the inevitable, a question hung heavy in the air, unanswered. What do we truly lose when we make a choice we cannot undo? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. In the garden where shadows and moonlight intertwined, the air thickened with anticipation as the night unfolded its dark tapestry. Judas stood at the precipice of a choice that would echo through the ages. As he approached the familiar grove, the ache in his heart mirrored the rustling leaves above, whispering secrets that seemed beyond reach. Just beyond where the ancient olive trees stood sentinel, he could see the figure of Jesus kneeling, arms lifted in a posture of prayer. The sight struck him, igniting a flame of remembrance, a time when their bond was forged in love and trust. Memories swirled, the miracles, the laughter shared amongst friends, the warmth of shared meals, the lessons that had shaped him. Each recollection pulled at the threads of his heartstrings, fraying them with longing. How had their journey led to this moment, where love had twisted into betrayal? As Judas stepped forward, he caught a glimpse of the others, Peter, James, and John, slumbering under the weight of weariness and dusk. They were blissfully unaware of the storm rising, oblivious to the shadows closing around their group like an unseen predator ready to pounce. Here was vulnerability among strength, here was friendship caught in the crosshairs of selfish ambition. The silver coins in his pocket felt heavier than they should, each clink resonating with a hollow foreboding. He had come to seal a deal, yet each step towards Jesus felt like walking on the edge of a knife. Would he be remembered for his treachery or his devotion? Could betrayal coexist with the love he once knew for this man? In that agonized moment, clarity washed over Hyman's understanding of the divine dance between choice and consequence. Perhaps, Judas thought, there lay a profound mystery encoded in the very act of betrayal. Was it truly possible that through his actions, the pathway to redemption might illuminate a greater truth? Or was he only notorious for sealing his own fate amidst this web of folly? Suddenly, shadows shifted, and the disciples stirred at last, awakening to the tremor of betrayal that lay in the air. Judas felt the weight of their gazes, straining under the burden of what was to come. They would never know what he wrestled with in silence. How could he explain the turmoil brewing within? The fear, the yearning, the impossibility of undoing his choice. Before him, Jesus rose, his face a canvas of understanding and a depth that seemed to peer into the very core of Judas' being. Their eyes locked, and for a fleeting moment, the world around them faded. Love shone from Jesus, illuminating darkness and inviting grace into a place of despair. Would love endure even this, he wondered? Judas, the voice held a weight of sorrow, a gentle prodding that reverberated through his soul. The sheer power of the name hung between them, laden with unspoken truths. What lay in the depths of Jesus' gaze? Was it remorse, or perhaps, an unfathomable understanding of the path Judas had chosen? And there, caught in the moment, Judas felt the sharp pang of his decision surge for an urgent call to redefine his very essence. Would he answer to that profound depth of love? Or would he succumb to the inevitable darkness? What does it mean to be seen fully in our brokenness, yet still feel the pull of unconditional love? As Judas stood at this crossroads, he grappled with the haunting gravity of his choice, only to wonder, in the tapestry of fate, can one thread of betrayal weave a story of redemption? As the cool night air swirled with the scent of earth and wild olive, a stillness fell over the garden, broken only by the distant sounds of the city. The stars above blinked like ancient witnesses, their silence echoing the gravity of the moment. Judas found himself lost within the depth of Jesus' gaze, a mirror reflecting both love and the terror of choice. Judas, you know what you must do, Jesus spoke softly, a murmur that carried the weight of hope and despair. The words hung between them, a bridge over the abyss that threatened to swallow him whole. How could loving intentions dissolve into actions that would shatter hearts? Was it not within human nature to seek both acceptance and the fear of rejection? The trembling hesitation that gripped Judas tightened further, drawing him into an internal battle that twisted in the night like a serpent coiling around its prey. Behind him, the sleeping disciples shifted in their dreams, unaware of the cosmic clash occurring just hours before their faith would be tested beyond measure. With a heavy heart, Judas recalled the days when Jesus spoke of a kingdom not of this world. There was a warmth in those teachings that seemed to promise solace and purpose. The parables echoed in his mind, tales of lost sheep and prodigal sons. He thought of the mercy woven in those stories. The mercy that Jesus embodied. Could he still hope for such grace in light of his impending betrayal? In every choice, there lies a consequence, the voice within him whispered, each word rising like a tide. Was he not forged from the very trials that marked humanity? Did this path not reflect the turmoil of a people as they chased after fleeting desires, blinded by ambition? Was it truly impossible to envelop regret with redemption? As Jesus knelt again, the moonlight sculpted his silhouette against the backdrop of the ancient trees, roots sunk deep in the earth, trunks gnarled but resilient. Life persevering amidst adversity, much like the human spirit tempted to forsake clarity for transient gain. Judas felt the tremor of possibility. In doing the unthinkable, could he embrace a path to transformation? Suddenly, a sound broke through the night, footsteps drawing nearer, the rustle of cloaks signaling the approach of soldiers. Panic surged within Judas as the harsh reality of his decision collided with this imminent danger. Those familiar faces were once friends, united in purpose, now poised against the very essence of their bond. Is this the moment? He pondered, heart racing. Each heartbeat resounded with a choice to betray or to stand firm in love. Here lay the paradox of humanity caught between the desire to belong and the pull of betrayal. Would he become a cautionary tale of despair, or could he tap into the highest yearning of his being? Lastly, he looked once more at Jesus. Here, in this moment of deepest intimacy, he tried grasping the magnitude of the love offered, the unconditional grace that seemed to weave its way through every broken heart. That grace invited him to reject darkness, to step back from the abyss into the light of understanding. As the figures of soldiers emerged through the trees, their torches flickering like fireflies amid the night, Judas glanced down at the coins he had clutched so tightly. What price was his soul worth? The world around him blurred as he realized, this was not merely a betrayal of friend but perhaps a betrayal of his true self. With tremulous determination, he took a step forward, caught between the pull of darkness and the thread of light, the unresolved question thrumming in his heart, in moments of moral chaos, can the choices we make still guide us back home to our essence, or do they only lead us further into the shadows? As the soldiers approached, the night air thickened with tension, and Judas felt his heart pounding in a frantic pace, as if desperate to break free from the turmoil swirling within him. He turned to Jesus, whose expression remained serene, yet imbued with an otherworldly understanding. It was as if time itself stood still, waiting on the precipice of a monumental decision. "Why do you look at me like that?" Judas asked, his voice barely a whisper. It was a question laced with fear and uncertainty, probing into the depths of his own soul. He sought reassurance but found only the profound silence of the man before him, whose eyes seemed to pierce through the veil of his intentions. "Judas, my friend," Jesus replied softly, "the heart knows its path. Each choice resonates through the ages." The words washed over Judas like a gentle tide, yet he felt the storm brewing within him only grow. Did he truly have a path of his own, or was he forever destined to navigate through the treacherous waters of others' desires? As the figures of the soldiers loomed closer, an uncanny moment unfurled. Every face he had known, every laugh shared, flitted through his mind like shadows in a flickering flame. He remembered the laughter that echoed in the simplicity of shared meals, the moments of healing when the sick touched the hem of Jesus' garment, and the heartfelt prayers that lifted their spirits. All coalesced into a bittersweet symphony, reminding him of the bonds forged in love, now threatened by his actions. The ground felt unsteady beneath Judas' feet, each step between him and the advancing soldiers feeling like stones submerged in a river of doubt. He hesitated, clenching the coins in his palm, feeling their cool metal biting into his skin, a reminder of the choice he had made. A pang of regret surged within him, entwined with the faintest glimmer of hope that perhaps, even now, there might be a chance for redemption. Judas looked up at the stars that circled the heavens, eternal witnesses to humanity's struggles. What did they know of pain, of betrayal? Did they understand the weight of choices made under the weight of desperation and woven through the fabric of fate? Was it mere coincidence that the same star-studded sky had seen love and betrayal echo through history? What if this choice is not mine to make? He whispered, the thought both liberating and paralyzing. Yet a deeper voice within urged him forward, prompting him to grasp the truth. Every choice, no matter how obscured by shadow, held the potential for light. Can I shift the narrative of this betrayal? He pondered, drawing strength from the sower's parable. Where seeds scattered upon rocky soil could still bear fruit, Judas found himself compelled to step closer to Jesus, not just to fulfill his bargain, but to seek a deeper meaning in the chaos. Will I still be worthy of your love after this? The question hung heavy, yet untouched, neither answered nor dismissed. As he took a step forward, the soldier's commands echoed in the night, sharp and clear like a bell tolling a decisive hour. The uncertainty swelled within him, a tumultuous sea threatening to engulf his very being. Yet, standing mere feet from the one who laid down his life for others, Judas felt a sudden shift in perspective. What if, in the act of ultimate betrayal, he could summon the courage to break free from the chains binding him to regret? Might every choice still hold a chance for deeper understanding, a possibility to rewrite the story etched in pain? As the first flicker of a torchlight spilled over the threshold of the garden, illuminating the faces of dread and loyalty alike, Judas felt the power of his journey crystallize in one haunting thought: does the quest for acceptance blind us to the love that demands nothing less than our truest selves? The garden bore witness to a moment fraught with meaning, a sacred ground layered beneath the weight of choices and shadows. As the flickering torchlight drew nearer, illuminating the blend of fear and anticipation in the air, Judas found his resolve teetering on the edge of revelation. There, faced with the unfolding drama of destiny, he held in his hands not just the coins that had bound him, but the entirety of his soul's turmoil. Jesus, who stood unwaveringly, drew near with an openness that seemed to invite even the most desperate of hearts. Despite the impending conflict, there was a radiant tranquility that enveloped him like a shield, leaving Judas to wonder about the path laid out for mankind. In this world of immense expectations, how many others stood where he did, caught in the throes of their own conflicting desires and expectations. In that fraught moment, when every heartbeat felt like a drum summoning him forth, Judas realized he was not just entangled in his own web of betrayal, but also woven into the greater tapestry of a story of love and sacrifice. His choices, steeped in regret, also carried the weight of prophecy, a golden thread running through the very fabric of salvation. What did it mean for him to play such a fateful role? Suddenly, he was struck by the fear that echoed in the hearts of all who had thronged around Jesus. Each had their vision of hope, yet here stood one, poised to shape their reality not through acceptance, but through an act of betrayal. What was God's purpose, he wondered, if not to invite humanity into the redemptive narrative, even through the darkest choices they might make? As he took yet another step forward, he heard the soft whisper of the wind, rustling through olive branches overhead, a reminder of the garden's purpose, Gethsemane, the place of crushing. What if, he pondered, the very act of betrayal could forge a new understanding of love? A love that encompassed all, even that which seemed irredeemable. Was it not Jesus himself who had taught that love bears all, believes all, hopes all, supports all? The soldiers, now mere steps away, called out for Jesus, and it struck Judas that here lay the essence of vulnerability and open heart exposed to pain. Could he reshape the narrative sepulchred in his choices and expose the sacred truth that even betrayal could lead to life? The conflict within him raged louder than the clamor of the advancing crowd. For a fleeting moment, he envisioned Jesus' gaze resting upon him, filled with compassion that responded to the depths of his struggle. Could it be that acceptance of his deepest flaws would mold a connection to the divine that surpassed the simple metrics of good and evil? Might acceptance be the true pathway to redemption? A sudden epiphany echoed in his heart, the story of the prodigal son replayed in vivid detail, the understanding that love is a relentless current, always pulling the wayward home again and again. Could he, then, mirror that sacred journey? Would stepping into the painful light, even as the bearer of betrayal, unlock insights that could reverberate through time itself? As the torchlight finally washed over him, revealing the tension on the faces around him, Judas stood at the precipice. The choice he made next would no longer merely define himself as the betrayer but could echo through the ages as a testament to the complex beauty of love. In a world that often seems to divide between sinner and saint, could he navigate through the divide and emerge transformed? As the shouts of the soldiers rang out, reaching a fevered pitch, the unspeakable truth loomed large within him. Is it in the darkest moments that the most profound revelations emerge? In the stillness that enveloped the garden, the distant clamor drew closer as the soldiers approached. Judas felt the weight of a storm brewing not only in the air but deep within his soul. His heart thudded under the urgent anticipation that tinged every breath. Was there still a path to redemption amidst betrayal, or would this moment seal his fate forever? The shadows stretched long, as if the garden itself bore witness to the heavy choices laid before him. The echoes of footsteps broke the fragile silence, and with every advancing step, he felt tethered to both fear and a profound yearning for clarity. If love was indeed meant to endure, could it survive even betrayal? Could he, standing at the crux of fate, embrace the duality of his existence? And then, with breathtaking clarity, Jesus' voice traversed the chaos that loomed ahead. "Judas," he called softly, his tone carrying the grace of understanding, layered with the weight of prophecy. The call reverberated within him, tethering him to a moment of truth, revealing a powerful glimpse of the divine love that penetrated even the darkest of hearts. In that affectionate look, the world around them faded, and Judas felt the surge of his own humanity, the hope buried under desperation, the longing for forgiveness, the flickering of faith amidst doubt. But could he dare to step into a destiny forged by love, even one fragile as a thread spun from a broken heart? As the soldiers approached, the tension became palpable like a thick fog. Each exhale melded into a prayer, a silent plea to the heavens. Each face in the crowd held a different shade of expectation, uncertainty mingling with the unshakable hope that had followed Jesus through every trial. Their gazes, filled with a fierce loyalty to the man who had transformed their lives, deepened the turmoil in Judas' heart, but amidst the rising storm of doubt, he found himself reflecting on the nature of regret. It was haunting, yet paradoxically liberating. Regret held a mirror to the soul, forcing one to grapple with the choices that defined existence. Had he fallen so deeply into despair that he was unable to recognize the beckon of forgiveness, the promise of life anew? Was regret merely the darkness illuminating the path toward understanding? Suddenly, the weight of his actions felt more like an opportunity than a chance to grasp the depth of human frailty entwined with the divine invitation to step closer to the heart of God. In the garden, beneath the suffocating reality of choice, the canvas of his life was painted with shades of doubt and faith, light and darkness. Yet, as the soldier's breaths mingled with the fervor of his own, there remained an elemental truth at the center of it all. Could even his betrayal carve a pathway through the chaos to a profound connection with the eternal? Did every choice, dark or light, play a role in the grand designa piece that needed to fit, however painfully, into the puzzle of divine love? Jesus, now standing before him with unwavering grace, held the gaze of humanity, the pain, the redemption, the love encompassing everything. In that moment, Judas was faced with a gaping truth. Was he courageous enough to embrace the part of the story that chipped away at the illusion of separation from God even in the depths of anguish? As the torches flickered ominously around them, shadows danced and swirled, a reminder of the complexity of the human condition. Would he be the author of despair, or could this be the moment where all converged into a new understanding of love? In the very depths of his turmoil, one question echoed with haunting clarity: can the moment of greatest despair lead us to the brightest revelations about the nature of love and forgiveness? The garden, now steeped in an unsettling twilight, seemed to pulse with the weight of unspoken truths. As the shadows grew longer, a palpable tension hung in the air, thick like mist on a cold dawn. Judas stood at the precipice of his choices, the soldier's presence a foreboding reminder of the path he had chosen, or perhaps the path that had chosen him. He felt the ground beneath him shift as if the earth itself was awaiting the pivotal moment that would forever alter the course of history. Time flowed slowly, each heartbeat echoing like a drum, as Judas contemplated the paradox of his betrayal, a deed intended to separate him yet drawing him into the very heart of Jesus' mission. He remembered the teachings of Jesus: forgive those who trespass against you, and felt an unsettling stir in his spirit. Was he, in his own twisted way, striving for a form of redemption, even amidst his act of betrayal? Could it be that in seeking to fulfill a role marked by grief, he was inadvertently becoming an instrument of grace? His gaze was anchored on Jesus, whose presence radiated an unexpected peace. Rather than wrath or judgment, it was love that streamed from him, a love that reached beyond the definition of human understanding. Judas wondered about the nature of this love. Was it so vast that it could even encompass the darkest of intentions? Here stood the embodiment of forgiveness, poised to embrace all that was broken, even the fragile heart of one who might see himself as irredeemable. As if reading the tumult in Judas' heart, Jesus stepped closer, the light of the torches shimmering against his skin. The path before us, dear friend, is an intricate web of choices, none beyond the reach of grace, he said softly, the gravity of his words settling like the evening dew. Each syllable felt like a gentle beckoning toward the truth he sought to understand. Every step taken in darkness holds the potential for illumination. Every wound can lead to healing. That notion caught Judas in a whirlwind of contemplation. Could it be that his greatest regret, one that pulsed at the very core of his being, could transform into a stepping stone toward profound understanding? The world had taught him that shame was to be shunned, yet here was a whisper of possibility, that in acknowledging his faults, he could find communion with the divine. As the soldiers awaited orders just beyond the shadows, the urgency around them escalated like a tempest brewing on the horizon, yet a quiet stillness enveloped Judas and Jesus where they stood. This seemingly small sacred space was charged with the echo of ancient prophecies and the weight of souls yearning for elevation beyond mere mortal limitations. Will you allow your choices to transform you, Judas? Jesus' voice cut through the chaos, beckoning him to cross the threshold into authenticity. Will you dare to see your story intertwined with the larger narrative of love, where every dark moment can lead to light? Judas, caught in the duality of remorse and hope, realized that perhaps the question was not contingent on his ability to act or perform, but rather a deeper acknowledgement of his humanity. Could embracing regret, the very source of his turmoil, allow him to illuminate the shadows and forge a connection where grace flowed freely? The advancing soldiers, emboldened by time and purpose, loomed ever closer, yet Judas felt a shift within, a flicker of resolve igniting amidst the raging storm. He stood at an intersection of despair and possibility, facing the choice of whether to retreat into darkness or step forward into a transformative light. As the cacophony of the world surged, a new question ignited within him, resonating with the pulse of existence itself. Can we fathom the depth of divine love, knowing it embodies our triumphs and our betrayals alike? In the garden, the air thickened with unshed tears, and the surrounding trees loomed like silent watchers over a moment suspended in eternity. As Judas wrestled with the storm that roiled within him, he remembered more than just the teachings of Jesus. He recalled the stories of his ancestors. Stories of men and women who, in their darkest hours, had found a flicker of hope in the unlikeliest of moments. There was the tale of David, burdened by his sins, whose repentant heart sought the mercy of God. That overwhelming act of contrition became the foundation upon which a legacy of grace was built. Would his own story, twisted as it seemed, join that of David? Could his betrayal lead to a deeper understanding of the salvation that Jesus promised? Reflect upon your route, dear Judas. Jesus' soft voice broke through the haze of reminiscence. What does your heart reveal about the path you tread? The question hung in the air, dense with meaning, urging Judas to confront the reality within him. Judas turned his gaze to the ground, where the soft earth had become a mirror of his spirit, each hardened clod representing a choice long buried under layers of doubt and despair. Every breath he took echoed with his father's struggle, his mother's sacrifices, and the dreams of a world yearning to break free from oppression. Each person had been part of a grander mission, battling within the confines of flawed humanity. And here he stood, intertwining his fate with that of the suffering Messiah. As the soldiers edged closer, the whispers of the past grew louder. Judas felt a surge of clarity, as if the very ground beneath him began to resonate with the cries of generations longing for redemption. The destinies of many lay bound within his choice. The enormity of what was unfolding pressed heavy on his chest. Will you be the echo of despair, or will you resonate with the symphony of hope? Jesus continued, his calm demeanor juxtaposed against the imminent chaos. Your heart holds both love and treachery. Your choice now speaks not only of betrayal but of profound transformation. An unsettling realization dawned within Judas. He did not stand alone in choosing darkness. The weight of his decision bore the fingerprints of all humanity's struggles. Each person's failings were ink upon the pages of their stories, waiting to be rewritten. The soldiers moved as one, their intentions cloaked in the urgency of the moment. Yet Judas sensed that every step they took toward him was met with an equal measure of potential within his own heart. He felt caught in a web spun long before his time, yet here he could choose to weave his thread anew. He looked back to Jesus, whose eyes radiated love, embodying the very essence of the forgiveness he yearned to grasp. In that moment, Judas realized that the battle was not confined to an act of betrayal. It was a confrontation between shadow and light, a call to embrace the complexity of human experience and its engagement with divine love. Judas understood now that regret could pave the way to transformation, not only in his life, but potentially in the lives of others. The impulse to connect with humanity, to reach out and understand the collective challenges, resonated deeply within him. The echo of every whispered sorrow danced between them, and he pondered whether he could allow grief to fulfill its paradoxical purpose, guiding others toward hope. But could that be enough? Could a heart battered by betrayal still carry the power to redeem? As the world's tumult pressed against him, an unsettling question pierced the haze of his thoughts. In the journey from regret to grace, can we truly embrace the truth that our deepest failures can become the soil in which the seeds of mercy take root? The moon hung low in the sky, casting a silver sheen over the rugged terrain of Gethsemane. Shadows converged, intertwining with the figures standing still like stone statues, each one wrapped in an unshakable gravity. Judas felt as though time had slowed, making it impossible to discern the past from the pressing immediacy of his choice. The silence weighed upon him like a thick fog, and within that silence, the voices of his ancestors resounded more loudly than before. He remembered his grandmother telling of a time when the Israelites had wandered in the wilderness, their hearts consumed by uncertainty. She had shared how hope flickered in the minds of those who felt abandoned, shaping their path to deliverance. They too faced betrayal not merely from others, but within themselves. Would their journey to the promised land have been different had they let doubt silence their cries? Had they focused solely on their shortcomings, forgetting the stories of divine love that had been etched into their lineage? Judas, came Jesus' voice once more, gentle yet firm. What if the very act of betrayal is a door to healing, not just for you, but for others? The question spiraled within him, adrift among the memories of every decision he had made. Each one carried the weight of family, faith, and struggle, every victory intertwined with failure. Judas pondered how the very essence of humanity lay in the solitude of his soul's turmoil, a microcosm of the greater plight of existence itself. Was he to be the lone betrayer or a pivotal player in a story drenched in divine purpose? With each agonized breath, a ripple of awareness unfurled in his chest. The anguish of his choice was an invitation. What if every moment of rejection he had ever endured became the catalyst for compassion? What if, by confronting his darkest thoughts, he could shed light on those hidden shadows that cast fear across the hearts of men? He caught a glimpse of the soldiers moving with determination yet hesitance, their hands gripping weapons of force but eyes reflecting uncertainty. They were only pawns of a greater struggle, just as he was about to become. The realization pierced his heart. What they sought to capture in him was not merely a body but a narrative, a retribution for humanity's failures laid at the feet of the divine. Betrayal or redemption, he whispered under his breath, every tale bends at the fork in the road. Suddenly, he felt an infusion of courage amidst the waves of despair. The path before him could lead not only to personal sacrifice but also to a collective awakening. Though his choices lay heavy upon him like ancient chains, he began to fathom that even a heart consumed by treachery retained the capacity to inspire change. As darkness encroached, the flame of possibility flickered stubbornly in the deepest recesses of his being. That he gazed at Jesus, whose serenity was a steadfast lighthouse amid the gathering storm. There lay the truth that beckoned him, the grace in vulnerability. Judas understood that the act of surrendering to his darkest moment was, paradoxically, the opening to a greater truth, a connection to the raw experience of being human. He remembered David again, who had chosen to dance before the Lord, even amidst his own grievous failures. Would he, too, have the strength to confront the chaos swirling around him? Could he stand at the precipice of despair and still choose to leap into grace? The whispers from his heart collided with the impending reality, and Judas was left to ponder, in the intertwining stories of regret and mercy, how might an act of betrayal become the very key that unlocks not just his redemption, but that of countless souls yearning for a glimpse of hope. In the solemn stillness of Gethsemane, a marked silence unfurled over the ancient trees as the moment of reckoning approached. Judas, grappling with the relentless tide of emotions, stood poised between darkness and the burgeoning dawn of understanding. Every choice weighed heavily upon him, mingling echoes of remorse with untapped potential. The soldiers, now just breaths away, loomed like a storm cloud, ready to unleash an inevitable tempest. Jesus, the embodiment of grace, remained steadfast, his presence casting light into the shadowy corners of Judas' heart. As he deeply inhaled the cool night air, the paradox of his own existence caught between betrayal and embodiment of profound love pressed fiercely upon his spirit. What if? He mused quietly, a question layered with urgency and raw vulnerability. Could the sacrificial act of betrayal become the canvas upon which he could paint a narrative of transformation? Judas, my friend, Jesus' voice resonated softly, cutting through the murmur of approaching chaos. In every shadow lies the promise of light. Will you step into the truth of your journey and embrace it fully? The weight of those words washed over Judas like a warm breeze, igniting a flicker of courage within. As Judas beheld the face of Jesus, he felt an undeniable pull to transcend beyond the confines of his choice, to honor both the darkness and the light that existed within him. The complexity of love, he realized, often intertwines with remorse yet always offers a thread of redemption. Would he allow his greatest regret to become a stepping stone toward a deeper understanding of grace, or would he succumb to despair? For the first time, Judas began to perceive the possibility of his decision, that perhaps in the depths of betrayal, there existed the opportunity to manifest a higher purpose. His heart surged as a profound epiphany ignited in his soul. In this moment, he whispered, the words barely escaping from trembling lips, can I choose to embrace my darkness while illuminating a path for others to find their way back to light? With the soldiers now gathered, their torches brighter than the stars above, the urgency tightened around him. He gazed upward, seeking the celestial tapestry, and found his heart leaping into a reckless faith. Here lay humanity's collective struggle, a tapestry of shadows interwoven with threads of divine purpose. He grasped the weight of his actions, feeling the burdens carried by generations before him, and yet something inexplicable stirred within, an unearthly understanding that grace does not cast aside the flawed, but instead invites them into the redemptive dance of life. As the moment cascaded into clarity, Judas felt an unstoppable resolve cement within his core. He took a step forward, breaking the silence that clung around him like a thick shroud. "I may betray you, Jesus," he declared, his voice resonating with newfound conviction, "but let not this act define my destiny. Let it serve as a reminder that even in the depths of our choices, we are called to seek redemption." The soldiers halted, caught in the gravitational pull of Judas' proclamation. The air crackled with anticipation where once it had been heavy with foreboding. The eyes of those gathered turned toward him, shock etching their expressions, unable to fathom the depths of the revelation unfurling in this sacred space. They sensed something greater taking shape, a metamorphosis that bridged regret with reclamation. "Turn back!" shouted one of the soldiers, his voice steeped in disbelief. "You will seal your fate." Yet Judas stood firm, a beacon amidst the turmoil. "No fate is sealed if we choose to embrace our truth. Betrayal can lead to freedom, can open the door to understanding and transformation for myself and the world." His gaze shifted to Jesus, who bore witness to the unfolding narrative, eyes wide with acceptance and infinite grace. In that moment, heaven shimmered and earth seemed to hold its breath. The divine echoed within him, a resonance of love that called him home. Every choice tasted bittersweet but was layered with potential, a mirror reflecting the essence of humanity's quest for connection and understanding. As he stepped forward, arms raised in a gesture of both surrender and defiance, a stunning transformation cascaded through the garden. In that sacred and monumental moment, Judas grasped the visage of love so inclusive that it encompassed all faults and failures. He understood that this path was not his alone but belonged to all souls wrestling with their shadows, forever inviting them toward a greater light. With each heartbeat, he aligned with the truth that transcended the moment, each breath hummed with the promise that love could endure, even amidst betrayal. He glimpsed the expansive narrative of grace that swept through all of humanity, a grand design painting light upon the canvas of darkness, a testament that every transient choice could ripple across eternity. Time folded around him as Judas allowed his essence to merge into the divine tapestry, his betrayal unfurling into a transformative saga of humanity's plight, echoing the hope of redemption for generations to come. In opening his heart, he uncovered the potential hidden within the intertwining threads of regret and grace, and as Judas turned to meet countless gazes, a profound peace washed over him. He smiled through the tears that brimmed in his eyes, a reflection of both mourning and radiance. "Let us remember," he implored softly as the soldiers advanced, "the most extraordinary tales arise from our deepest struggles. This moment shall not narrowly define me, but rather become a testament to the resilience of love, the indomitable spirit of humanity, and the boundless grace bestowed upon all." In this revelation, beneath the cloaking shadows, something eternally shifted. The burdens of the world, marred by choices made in darkness, began to exhale into a remarkable new dawn. For even in betrayal, love lingered, unwavering as the stars above, inviting the weary to rise and embrace the transformative power that exists within each choice, an eternal dance of grace echoing beyond reality.